Hello fellow makeup lovers, how are you guys doing? I am so excited for this video because we're going to be playing with the new Lunar Beauty Moonspell Volume 2. I just think that this palette is absolutely stunning. The color story is beautiful. It's just such a pretty mixture of purples and reds and like a little bit of neutrals, but the shimmers look so intense. So I am very, very excited about this one. And then recently I did a haul and I showed this in comparison to the original volume 1 of the Moonspell palette. And I got a few requests to do a comparison and a few people saying just that they look too similar. So in today's video, we're gonna go ahead and do swatches of this entire palette, do an eye look. I'll kind of give you my first impression thoughts. And then at the end, I'll do comparison swatches of these two palettes of anything that looks similar just so we can see the differences, if there are any repeats. So hopefully this video will be helpful for you. If all of that sounds good, then just keep watching. So here's a quick close-up of the palette, so you can see all the textures and everything. I'm literally living for this row. Looks so pretty. So the first shade we have here is Agatha, and this just looks like a very shimmery white, just true neutral icy white shade. We've got Luna, which this one is one that I'm the most excited about just because of the way it looks in the pan. It looks like such a pretty pink. I don't even know what I want to do today. We have Mildred, which this one looks like a really beautiful, like sparkly kind of, gosh, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a neutral, like kind of rosy brown base with a little bit of a rose gold shift, but very tamed down. I definitely have like 4 different nail polishes on my nails too, because I was very indecisive when I painted them last night, so I don't know what's going on, but hopefully it kind of matches the spooky vibes a little bit. Okay, next we have Myrtle, which this one is a really pretty kind of bright, little bit deeper purple. This one feels a little bit like thicker of a metallic. I feel like just feeling the texture of the shadows so far that some of the Lunar Beauty shimmers from other palettes might be a little bit creamier, but that's just first impression, first touch. We have Misty next, which this is another really pretty pink with a little bit of a gold shift. Again, texture of the shadow not blowing my mind. But I mean, it looks decent swatched out, so we'll see. Next we have Alex, which this is a very light kind of pinky purple pastel matte, kind of like a lilac. We've got Cameron, which is like an orange, and then Sally. You know we had, oh, actually, you know what? I was gonna say, you know, we needed our neutral brown, but that's actually pretty orange. It looks much more brown in the pan. Okay. I mean, honestly, the mattes are feeling a little bit dry. I really want to love this palette, so I'm like, it's just swatches, it's just swatches, it's okay. Next we have Jillian. Oh, that one feels a lot smoother. It's a really pretty purple. We've got Willow, super pigmented, and it looks like a true red, which is already giving this palette a little extra bonus because so many reds pull pink. And then we've got Louise. I feel like Louise is a little bit too close to Myrtle for my liking. That looks good. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just a touch deeper, but I feel like on the eyes, it'll probably look very similar. And this one, like, it's a little bit more of a satin. Next, we have the shade Zelda, which is a really pretty kind of burgundy with a lot of pink to it, but it has a pretty shimmer and everything. We've got Hilda, another purpley pink. This one's a little bit more pink than the previous. We've got Grams, which I love the name for this one. We love Grams. We love the Vampire Diaries here on this channel. But that's like a really pretty like cranberry shimmer. Next we have Freya. This one looks like a little bit more of a coral. We've got Maggie. It's a really pretty plum. Mel, which is a deep brown. Ooh. Freya, what's going on there? Oh gosh, okay. Next we have Macy, which is a pretty deeper purple. Queenie, kind of a deeper burgundy, and then Marie, which is the deepest shade in the palette. Unfortunately, it's a black with sparkles in it. Hopefully I can like tap some of the sparkles out. I hate when the darkest shade in a palette is not a matte. And I'm just not really into black mattes like with sparkles. I feel like there's a black matte with sparkles in the Eternal Eclipse palette too. But there is a color story. I mean, I think that it looks like a beautiful set of colors, but swatched out, I've definitely been more impressed with other Lunar Beauty palettes between swatches. I just feel like some of the mattes felt pretty dry. Some of them didn't want to pick up as well. You can see here. And then like some of the shimmers were really pretty. So we'll see. Hopefully they do even better on the eyes. So I already primed my eyes with the Anastasia Beverly Hills eye primer, and I think I'm gonna start off with the shade Alex. I was sitting here trying to decide between going more purple or going more red, and like maybe I'll figure something out in between. But I was like, let me just start off with Alex. Let me pick up a little bit more and just throw that through my crease. So I went in with the Sigma E38 as opposed to the E40 to start off with to help this shade have a little bit more pigment. And it looks okay. I haven't watched any reviews on this either. So once I finish filming this, I'm going to be really curious to go watch some and see how other people are feeling about the palette. I know I've seen some really, really beautiful looks with it, so I kind of assumed that people were liking it. Next, I'm going to go ahead and go into Jillian, and I'm going to pop that in my outer V and start bringing it through the crease, just building it up a little bit. I kind of really want to use Maggie and Queenie and just see how much they both show up. So I'm going to start that off on my outer V. Just kind of blend it out. It's weird because I feel like everything is showing up, but it's just not as like intense as I would have expected. Like, I don't necessarily have anything bad to say, but it's just a little bit softer. I mean, it's still blending out and everything. It's just, I'm kind of thinking of like in comparison to the Orchid You Not eyeshadow palette that I just tried out from ColourPop, and the mattes in that felt so much richer. All right, now we're gonna go ahead and go into Queenie. Just put that a little bit right here. Unless you want to pull in the sparkly black matte, that's kind of the level of depth. I want to do something I wouldn't normally do just to kind of show better how I'm feeling. I'm going to pull into the Orchid You Not, and I'm going to, maybe I'll go in with Ada. I feel like that shade looks pretty similar to Queenie if you look at them side by side. So just to show you, do you see that? See how much depth Ada has even though the shade is so similar? Just blending that out real quick. I mean, hopefully you guys can see what I mean. It's not that this is bad, but it could be better. So I'm gonna go ahead and take just a touch of Ada and throw that on this side as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the lower lash line. I'm gonna use the shade Louise and the shade Myrtle on the lower lash line just so we can see how different they look, because when I swatched them out, I was like, not sure how to feel. So I'm gonna start off with Louise. Just gonna go ahead and pop that on the outer half. All right, now going into Myrtle and popping that on the inner half. I mean, Myrtle definitely has more shimmer to it. It's a little bit prettier. I feel like I can slightly see the difference, but at the same time, I feel like you'll have to let me know. Does that look like I just have one shade on the lower lash line? Kind of feel like it does. Surprise, surprise. I'm gonna go ahead and go into the shade Agatha for my inner corner. It's really pretty. Really, really like the texture of that one. Now for my lid, I'm kind of torn. Part of me wants to go into the shade Misty, and then part of me wants to use Luna. I think I'm gonna use Misty just because Luna is so beautiful. I'm sure a lot of people did their first tutorial or did a look with this palette and reached for Luna. So let me do Misty and give Misty a moment. It's picking up really well with a brush, so that's nice. Just gonna go ahead and put that all over my lid. Okay. I mean, even for a brush, I feel like that immediately looks better on the lid than I was expecting from Swatches. Go ahead and do an extra layer. I bet it would look so pretty wet too. All right, on this side, I'm gonna go ahead and do my finger. Oh, that's pretty. Matching with this side. I know I used this in my last video too, but I'm just gonna go ahead and grab the Nabla Cupid's Arrow number 3 liner. I just love this. Anytime I do like purple, pink, burgundy look, this liner is everything. Gonna throw on some mascara and I'll be right back. Okay, so off camera, I also went ahead and grabbed the ColourPop Just a Flush cheek palette, and I used a little bit of this mauve blush just to add some of that tone to my cheeks. I'm kind of torn on what to do for highlighter just because my skin is so ridiculously dry. And I've got like dry patches, which I almost never get. So part of me is like, maybe I shouldn't add highlighter and emphasize that. Maybe I'll just do like a little bit on my nose. I don't know. I'm grabbing the Sydney Grace Enduring Love palette. Just gonna go into a touch of the shade Romeo. All right, just gonna throw a little bit of that on my nose. Just for a touch of highlight. Feels so weird to leave my cheeks bare, but I think I'm gonna do it. And then lastly for lips, I'm gonna go into the We Makeup lipstick in the shade 02. I feel like this is the most undecided I've felt in a first impression in a really long time. I really like the way that the eye look ended up turning out, but I am trying to keep in mind that I did pull into another palette. I feel like the mattes just didn't have the impact that I expected them to, but it still turned out pretty, and the shimmers look nice. I'm just kind of like, I'm not sure how to feel yet. I really just need to play with this palette more, but I don't know that it quite lived up to the expectations that I had for it just from first impression. The thing is, I didn't watch the whole launch video, but I feel like I remember seeing comments that Lunar Beauty did change the lab that they use for their eyeshadow palettes or something like that. I'm gonna have to go back and watch and see what the tea was on that, but I'm like wondering if that maybe is a reason why some things feel a little bit different. I don't know, but I don't feel comfortable saying that I love it. I don't feel comfortable saying that I hate it. I need more time with it. So let's go ahead and do some comparisons. Okay, so just starting off, here is what Moonspell 1 and 2 look like together. Obviously the original has those pops of green, a little bit more pops of neutral, but let's go ahead and swatch them out. So first we have the shade Prue, which is kind of like a light duochrome periwinkle purple shade. So pretty, but there's nothing similar. We've got Piper, which is like a satin kind of burgundy purplish shade. And I'm feeling like I should compare between Piper, Phoebe, to Zelda and Grams and just swatch all 4 of those together. Here's Piper and Phoebe. And then Zelda and Grams. So pretty different. I mean, I guess these two could have a similar look, but not the same texture. Next we have this matte Paige, which is kind of like a pinky purple, and I'm feeling like I should compare that to Jillian. So here's Paige, and here's Jillian. So Jillian has like a little bit less depth to it. And then because there's a not quite that similar, I'm also gonna grab this shade right here called Hilda. That looks a little bit darker though. We'll put Hilda above Paige. Next we have this bright purple Sabrina, and definitely gonna compare that to Macy. Okay, so here is Sabrina, and here is Macy. Macy is a little bit darker. Okay, this next row we have the shade Winifred, which is like an orangey brown, so I guess I'll go ahead and compare that to the shade Sally, but I do feel like they're quite different. I don't know if you can see like that, like how much each picked up. Like this one It's just not giving me the same pigment. So there's Winifred and there's Sally. Pretty different. Okay, so next we have the shade Sarah. Don't feel like there's anything super similar. It's kind of like a muted purpley neutral taupey shade. We've got Mary, which is like a silver. Again, nothing super similar. And then we've got Samantha, which I feel looks pretty similar to Mildred. Here's Samantha and here's Mildred. Oh, actually Mildred's quite a bit lighter. Okay, next we have this brown called Kiki, which I'm gonna compare to the brown Mel. Here is Kiki and here is Mel. Again, the volume 2 is deeper. Okay, so I mean, I'm pretty sure that's all that we can really compare between these two palettes, because then we get into the blue and green row and there's nothing similar there. So I guess I would say yes, there are some similarities, but nothing is exactly the same. It seems like overall volume 2 has deeper matte tones, which I do appreciate, so hopefully this was helpful for y'all. Sorry I wiped off the first set of comparison swatches. I did it without even thinking. So that is everything for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.